So we are back at the lake house yet again, and you can see that we have gotten some cabinets installed. In fact, the cabinet shop is done. There is an island that will go right here that we're gonna have to install later. It's here, they just didn't get to install it because we're working on these ceilings. We've got scaffolding set up and woo, we're spinning around. And we started running the tongue and groove for the ceiling. So all that is going up. We're working on that. So we've got that stuff going on, and then we're also starting to get the back decks decked. We've got Trex deck material. We're using their grooved deck boards with their hidden fasteners, and we've started the layout on that. We're going to show you how we're doing that, the little things that I like to do on decks that are just a little bit extra. I'm not a huge fan of a deck, simply because the treated lumber enjoys rotting, apparently. And so we're just trying to do a few little extra details to try to help prevent that as much as we possibly can. So let's go out and take a look at what we're doing with the deck. So where we'll start, and why we started in the middle, the deck itself, the entire length of the deck is just a little below 32 feet. These are 16-foot boards. This is just one of the dimensions they come in. So it allows us to trim just a little bit. We'll let all the deck boards run out wild on the ends and then go back and snap a line and cut them off nice and straight when we get done. But so rather than having one seam, one joint that runs all the way down this particular joist, what I want to do is stagger them in a way such that we don't waste any of this extremely expensive material. So we'll start with a 16-foot board working out of the center. So we want a joist that's at least really close to center. In this case, we've got it. And so we'll butt 2 boards there. And my next run, we'll center a 16-foot board, putting about roughly 8 feet on each end. And we'll stagger that back and forth so that all of our joints stagger all the way out to the edge of the deck. So what I'm gonna do next is simply butt these 2 boards up. We'll get these butted up and flushed up really good and tight. Then we will go down the string line and adjust the board and put some fasteners in the rest of the way down this board. Those fasteners have a thread pattern that it winds up keeping you from having a puckered place on that board, and it sucks down. We just barely do recess that screw. So the next thing I'm going to do is take a measurement here. And what we're looking for is 1.5 inches between the string and the board. And in this case, I want to wind up pulling that back just a little bit to get it where I want it. So you see what we're doing, and I'll continue this all the way down this deck board until I've got it set at 1.5 inches off the string line. We'll get a fastener in at each joist. We've just kind of skipped a few at this point to get it lined up. Once we've got it lined up, we'll put a fastener at every single joist. And this will be our starting point. We'll start doing our layout with our deck clips and everything from. We'll show you how they work. Okay, so we're going to talk just a little bit about what we've done so far and what we're doing next. So you may have noticed there's a mastic tape that's down on top of these joists. I believe that's pretty important. We've used some different products. This one, link in the description, it's from a company called Polywall, and we've used some of their products in the past as basement waterproofing. So they're kind of a waterproofing expert in the construction field. This product is made specifically for what we're doing with it. In the past, I've used some window tape. Whenever we put these deck boards down, whether it's a Trex material or an actual lumber, there's a tendency for rot to start happening around those screw or nail penetrations, and it just goes from there. We are using treated lumber. However, the treated framing, it just still will not hold up, and pretty well no matter what, the Trex is going to wind up outliving the framing material, but we want to give this framing material as good a chance as we possibly can. And so we're doing that by using this tape. And so we've got, that's taped on. Now, before we got here, the framers actually framed this deck. There are, of course, Simpson joist hangers used. There's flashing behind it, but then we also used that same mastic tape to flash up the wall and turning it out so that we just continue kicking everything out and over the top of the lumber and trying to get it down behind it. We'll wind up leaving a little bit of a space between the wall and the first board. This board is actually screwed down. We've not completely screwed it. We got to go back and add a few more. But if you can see, we're actually not against the wall. Now the fact is, you'll never see that once the trim boards go on the wall. This house is getting Hardy siding. In fact, it's actually getting LP Smart side. We'll look at that when we start putting that product on. But we're gonna leave that gap there. That gap just leaves that water another place to try to get out. And the string line, we'll show you what we're doing with it. But we set the string line at just kind of an arbitrary point off the wall. In this case, it's 8 inches. The board is 5.5. And what we're doing to allow that space, I'll show you real quick. I'm simply making a measurement between the string and the edge of the board. In this case, I'm using 1.5 inch, 5.5 inch board. That leaves us about an inch off the wall, about an inch off the wall, which again is fine. What you'll see is that the wall is not perfectly straight. So this string line lets us get this board as straight as we can possibly get it. And there's nothing perfect. We're trying to get this first board as straight as we can. We start putting the clips in a minute, we literally will just space everything off of this original board. So if we get it good and straight and fastened off, it really sets us up for success as we continue fastening the rest of these boards down. So that's kind of our starting point. The other thing is this tape, and we'll be putting some more tape on in a minute. We'll talk about it a little bit more. But what's cool is their label. They've got these 2 labels, and those 2 labels, ironically enough, are 1.5 inches apart. And so it makes it really easy installing this tape that we're able to use the label to hit the side of the joist. It gets us the proper lap down each side. It keeps us running fairly centered, and been a really, really easy installation on that tape. We do hit it with a roller. There's of course different rollers out there on the market, and some things are, you know, probably made specifically for this, but we just use a fairly generic roller here. This is just an old Cobalt roller that we've had for years from Lowe's, but it's actually used, it technically is a Formica roller, and back in the day when we used to laminate some things up like that, we used it for that, but it comes in handy for window tape or this product or whatever we're using. So we're going to fasten down this next board, kind of show you how we adjust that, and start carrying on with the rest of these deck. Okay, so these are grooved Trex boards, and these are the clips that retain them. You can see what it does is basically provides a small tongue on each side. So it's similar to the premise of a tongue and groove setup, but you're actually using a floating tongue to put these together. Now right here, we don't have a joist just the way the concrete foundation works out. But we put one of these clips at each joist down through here. And once we've got that, we'll push this board up, and we'll go ahead and put a couple of screws in here.
Hey, me too, Daddy.
Chloe's really helping a lot too, aren't you?
Huh? Yep. Yeah.
Got her hammer and everything out here. So this is actually Camo brand. We're not using camo fasteners, but what this guy is, we set it on the joist. We can lock it to the joist and then use it to push the boards up tight to each other. So pretty neat little deal. I'm gonna actually tighten this up just a little bit more than where I had it. And so we've got this on the deck board. We're just gonna cam this thing around, and it will put a lot of force on that and push that dude up to tighten these joints. And then we'll go through and drive these screws down and start on. Okay, so just a little bit more about this tape. Again, it's by Polywall, and we'll have a link in the description. This is their rot shield joist tape. It's what it's made for. And all I'm gonna do, my next step, is we're gonna wind up trying to get our deck boards out. We've got this OSB up here to work off of. The deck starts falling off and getting a lot higher off the ground. So we're gonna try to fill this space in with tape. We're gonna bring our deck boards out near the edge of this OSB. Then we'll take these OSB boards and stuff up and keep working from the deck boards out to the end. So you just basically keep repeating this process. But this stuff just cuts off fairly easily with a razor knife. And then it's got a backing on it you peel away. And I'll show you what I was talking about earlier with the label. So what's neat about it is the label is 1.5 inches wide. And so I can just line that lettering up with the edge of the joist, and I get just a really, really nice run out of it. And the point of this, again, is that it's kind of self-sealing, so that when we drive these screws in, it's gonna help seal around those screws and keep the top of this board from rotting as quickly as it otherwise would. So we're gonna go through and get this tape on, and then we're gonna just keep on running deck boards. Okay, Chloe, so what are you getting ready to do?
Roll it.
Can you roll the top of the tape real good? Yeah, turn it around. Here you go. So it's always a good idea to roll these products. It just helps them really seal on a little bit better than they otherwise would.
Hi.
Chloe, what do you think about the lake out there?
Oh,
Do you like it?
yeah.
All right. All right, so we're wrapping up. We're gonna pick everything up. Not a lot. It doesn't look like got done, but that's actually quite a bit. And we've got these deck boards down. We've got a couple of runs here. But we did get all this tape on. We had a little bit of stuff we had to do that the framer had left for us. Nice of him, but some of the nails and fasteners weren't in the joist hangers, and so we had to go back and do all that, and plus just getting a late start trying to get everybody else's jobs taken care of. These jobs for ourselves take a little bit longer. So hey, until next time, and we will be back over here. A lot of stuff going on the next few days and weeks, getting these ceilings done and granite and stuff going in. Flooring will be hitting towards the end of the month, and so quite a bit of stuff happening here. A little bit more with the deck building that we'll show you, and some other stuff on flashing and sealing windows. So several different videos that we'll still bring out of this project. So we'll see you next time. Hit that subscribe button and check us out Facebook, Instagram, all those places.